Good morning and welcome to Joy News Desk. Coming up this hour, state attorneys declare indefinite strike over poor conditions of service. Voting underway in Talensi in what could be a two-horse race between the NDC and MPP. Ebola vaccine trial team allays fear over safety of drug as students express interest to volunteer in the trials. Also to come, Ghana National Fire Service charges fuel station managers to upgrade their safety measures or face closure. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. I'll bring you details of those stories and plenty others over the next 60 minutes here. Thank you very much for staying on the program. Now, the much anticipated Talensi By Election has kicked off in the Upper East region some 2 hours ago. The poll, which is being fiercely contested by the two major political parties, that's the ruling National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party, alongside 6 others, has gained a lot of publicity following the invasion of the former incumbent to the status of a chief in that area. Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert Sori reports tight and heavy security has been detailed to each polling center to ensure sanity. Well, let's go over to the region now and speak with the police PR in the area, Thomas Agbanyo. Good morning and thanks for joining us here. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, so let's give it another shot. What has the police seen so far? What is the police's impressions of what's been going on?
I'm saying that the polling is going on successfully and there's no hitch. Information from all the patrol teams and the various electoral areas shows that everything is moving on smoothly. There's no problem.
Very well, thank you very much.
The men are on the ground, yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your time, ASP Agbanyo. ASP Agbanyo speaks for the police in the area, in the Upper East region, Now, the two leading political parties, the governing National Democratic Congress and the opposition New Patriotic Party, are both claiming to have the upper hand in the contest which is underway. At the last rallies held by both parties over the weekend and attended by all the big wigs, they both sounded optimistic, suggesting it will be an indication of how the 2016 elections will go. The minority parties are, meanwhile, not giving up on their chances of taking the seats. They all held rallies in the constituency to wrap up campaign and to court voters, with the CPP and PNC presenting a common candidate in what they believe gives them a good shot at the seat. Programs coordinator at the Center for Democratic Development, however, does not share the optimism of the smaller parties. Paul Kojo Abrampa believes despite the 8 faces on the ballot paper, the Talensi By Election is a two-horse race between the NDC and the NPP.
Other 6 contestants, to me, the only thing that will face a challenge to the two leading political parties with the emergence of the PNC coming in front of the PNC. That will be something that will bring forth. But it's a strict contest between the MPP and the NDC. And it also gives the bragging rights to whoever wins this very seat. As the bragging rights has started, the Nekufado's speech, as you listened to yesterday, seeks to say that they want to take this seat, one, to honor the chief who has, the parliamentary candidate who has now been made a chief, and it's the first of his kind that said, because of the respect they have for their party and other people in the MPP, they have honored the amount to become a chief, and also to show the citizens the bad governance that is going on by the NDC. The NDC's, as Prof. Mills, Mahama also said yesterday at the rally, it is their seats, and number of projects that they've put up in Talensi and across Ghana, and the governance that they are putting up to see the welfare of the people, will give them the votes. So this will be the major test for them, and this will also prepare them ahead of 2016. So if the MPP wins, it re-emphasizes the preach of the bad governance Ghanaians are witnessing, as they purport to say. And if the NDC wins, it will also counter whatever the MPP has said. So it gives the bragging rights now. If you ask me to predict who is likely to win this election, unless something changes last minute, I tip the two leading political parties, but because of the results of the presidential turnout in 2012, I'll give it to the NDC. It's been the NDC seat. Mosori is himself was an NDC before he crossed carpet, and because of that, they had an advantage. So it's up to us to see or realize from these elections whether the vote actually was an anger from the NDC faithfuls who did not like the candidate presented, or it was a punishment to the NDC as a party. Hasn't the Electoral Commission brought the voters register to the political parties at PEG as enshrined in the Political Party Act and in the Constitution? It says it should be given to them a week before the elections. Why hasn't it done that? That's the problem.
This is a by-election, and the time given them probably might not be enough.
The Electoral Commission set the date. Nobody gave them the time. And secondly, we are not compiling a new voter rule. It is the voter rule that was used for 2012. It's the same voter rule that we're going to use. It's the only addition is the limited voter addition that we did, which of course has been compiled already. So, sometimes I talk of political institutions, I'll talk about national institutions, because you give room for speculation. You realize, and you read the media, what kind of speculations that were coming up. Electoral Commission is in bed with the NDC. The NDC is transferring more vote to aid their winning. Why? Because the Electoral Commissions are giving that window for speculation. What prevents you from issuing the register as purported in the law, so that you win yourself from all these speculations? You might not be doing anything wrong, but why don't issue the voter rule for them? This happened in 2012, and the political parties complained. Why are you still doing same mistakes? We expect the Electoral Commission, after the long battle in Supreme Court for 8 months, which I term as 8 months silence in Ghana, to start modifying its ways of operation, to start reducing the windows they create for people to criticize them. And some of these by-elections or special elections are test cases for them to prove people wrong. So I wasn't expecting that register to delay for people to get room for speculation. It's not only the register. The law also enjoins the Electoral Commission to publish the name of observers, the temporary staff they've recruited, for people to go. You know why it is important? It's important because then we can protest. Then we can know whether the people there are biased. Then we can tell the background of the people, so that we have a clear, independent people manning our polling centers, so that it cripples the political parties to reading intents of biases after the results have been issued. The Electoral Commission should start learning after the long silence they put Ghanaians through after 2012.
Well, now let's go to the grounds in Talensi. That is where we understand that some confusion is broken out in one of the polling stations. I'm joined over the telephone by Regional Financial Secretary for the New Patriotic Party, Atani Namo. Mr. Namo, good morning. Hello, Mr. Namo. Well, I think we have lost him. In the absence of that, and while we get in touch with the police to give us an update on this one too, in the studio we can speak to Evans Mensah, who is head of our political desk here at Joy News. Let's find out why suddenly Talensi seems to be of importance to all the big wigs when it comes to politics. Thanks for being here, Evans. Let's start over why Talensi has become a big sport now for everybody.
Well, the significance of Talensi needs to be looked at within the context of what is happening in the economy generally. This is a government that has had a difficult last 2 or 3 years or so under John Mahama, and many people look at this, and in fact including myself, that this somehow will be a referendum on John Mahama's leadership over the last 3 years. This is the first time we are having an election since he became the president of a sort, and people will be looking at his administration, what he's done over the years, over the last 3 years, to sort of judge how they vote in Talensi. Saying that though, you need to understand in politics there are no absolutes. So although I say that, that might not be such a dominant factor in a Talensi which is pretty much remote part of the country where some of the urban economic challenges that you face in Accra might not be as dominant, as relevant as it will be if you're in Accra, in Kumasi. But nonetheless, it will play a part because prices of fuel products have gone up. People in Talensi, most of them probably will be using kerosene. They'll go to the pumps to buy kerosene. They'll notice that prices have gone up. Majority of them, they'll still use firewood. So then it's still not much of an issue. They still pick transportation. When the GPLT increases prices across the country, they feel it. So that is why it's such a big deal. So that if the MPP wins, they'll say we are on the right track, that this government doesn't govern well, and that is why the people have decided to vote against them. In fact, we will now say that if we win here, it's sort of going to give us momentum going to next elections. John Mahama rightly also says that it's going to be a test run for next year's election, and he's not far from the truth, because that is exactly what it's going to be. If they lose, if the NDC loses the election, MPP will say, well, this is just an indication that the people are beginning to reject the administration, the governance we've seen over the last 3 years. And so the NDC has a lot at stake in this particular election. So is the MPP. Why? Because first of all, this is a seat they hold, is an incumbent. They have the incumbent, a member of parliament who is no more, for which reason is triggered this by-election, is an MPP, and therefore they'll hope to retain it. And so they need to retain it. If they lose, the big deal is, people will say, and of course, I mean, it just stands to reason, that they'll say, in spite of all the challenges, all the increases we've seen, all the crises we've seen, power, etc., the NDC still can manage to win an election today. Imagine what happens in 2016 when they've managed to resolve the power crisis. The economy is on the up, the currency stopped falling. What then will happen? They'll then look at that and point to that. So that's why the high stakes here.
I want us to look at what the trend has been over the years. It's for a long time been an NDC comfort zone.
True.
And we'll look at how all of that's changed. But let me go over to the telephone line now and speak with our correspondent, Albert Sorry. Hello, Albert. Albert. Well, I think we lost Albert there, but we also have the Regional Financial Secretary for the NPP, Atani Delali, who is also reporting some confusion that's broken out in one of the polling stations. Mr. Namo, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, and thank you for...
Now, which polling station is this?
The polling station is around the Shia Primary School.
I see. And what exactly has happened there?
What happened is that the military and the police have a number of barriers. And so earlier on, somebody had a dummy NDC ballot paper and was showing voters in the queue how to vote. And so he was spotted, and the police were called, and he was handed over to the police. So moments later, about 10 minutes later, these guys, most of them are Azoka boys, because they identified themselves as such. So when the police got to the barrier, the police wanted to search every vehicle, because at every point, whether you have been searched earlier or not, you have to disembark from the vehicle and let them go through it and search whether there are weapons. Indeed, this morning, a number of guns and cutlasses have been seized by the police. Now, and so,
did this disrupt the voting process at the Shia Primary School?
It was a little bit, just it was about 50 meters to the polling station, and therefore voting was going all right.
And so we can also say that voting is still ongoing as planned, and it hasn't been disrupted. But
the firing of gunshots just to control the crowd obviously will scare some voters. And so that is the concern of all.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Namu. We'll get in touch with the police on this matter, find out how they're dealing with this, as we understand that some military may have picked up. Albert Sorry is back over the telephone. Albert.
Hi, Kemin.
Now, where are you and what can you report?
Well, I am in Tongo, specifically at the community center polling station, and voting has been smooth throughout the polling stations that I have visited. there aren't any issues. Also, there haven't been any long winding queues, most likely because it's a working day and a lot of people had to go to work first and then find time to come and cast their votes and go back. So generally, if you go around, you don't find long queues at all. The queues are just normal. The longest queue you may find is maybe 30, 35 people in a queue. And that is it. Earlier, I was talking to the EC chairman, the regional EC chairman, James Atayeboa, and he says that there haven't been any issues at all. Before the voting started, their concern had been whether the biometric machines will work effectively. But so far, he hasn't received any report of any biometric machine failing. And one other concern has to do with the batteries. What happens, from what I've been told, is that usually when the batteries are getting low, that is when you find problems with the verification machine. I asked the EC chairman, and he said that they have put measures in place. They have backup batteries, which they easily change. When they realize the batteries are getting low, they don't wait till they go down completely. They immediately change them. So they are hoping that they will not have any issues at all.
I see. Now, you have also been engaging some of these voters. What have they been telling you?
Yes, they have talked about the fact that they go through the process smoothly. When they come, they present their ID card, and then they check to see if their names are in the registers, and then they go through the verification processes, take their ballot papers, and go and vote. So far, the people I've spoken to, all of them have said that they will not reveal which candidates they voted for. But one of the voters I spoke with here at the community polling station said that for him, he wants development for the place, and he knows the candidate who can give him that, and that is who he casts his vote for.
Now, what's your observation of security on the ground?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I'm asking what your observation is as far as security is concerned.
Well, there are a lot of security patrol vehicles from the military and also the police. A lot of them speeding, on the road that links the major roads in the constituency. You find a lot of police vehicles. At the district police station, there's a lot of police vehicles who come in every now and then and move out. So they are, going around the constituency. Earlier, I used one road and I came across some police and military teams who had stopped some people, just to search. And I tried to find out why. They said it's for security reasons, and that is it. They just told me, you go away and let's do our job. So these are the things that they are doing. They search some people, usually when they realize you are using that particular route that I saw. They stop you, ask you some questions. If you have a bag or something with you, they search it, and then they allow you to move on.
Well, Albert, we'll leave it here for now. We'll come back to you for more as and when new developments emerge. Albert, joined us from Talensi, where voting is underway in that area. But Evan Spencer is still here with me. We're discussing why Talensi has become so important. Now we want to know what the trend has been over the years. As you were telling us what the trend has been over the years.
It's traditionally been a stronghold of the NDC, the National Democratic Congress. Let's go back to 1992 when we first had democratic elections after the military rule. In 1992, obviously, there was a MPP boycotted elections. Remember the stolen ballots, and so there was nothing to compare. Then we moved to 1996, and John Tia, who was until 2012 the MP for the area, then showed up on the scene, and it was a massive victory for the NDC. He secured 71.3% of the votes as against the NDC's Mariam Adukuma MPP, who secured 24.2% of the vote, a margin of victory of 47.1%. That is quite huge. But if you come to 2000, and something happened in 2000, there was a clamor for change across the country that saw the NPP win power, presidential power, and knocked off the first time we've seen an incumbent lose power to an opposition party was in 2000. And it's not surprising that in Talensi, this sort of clamor for change sort of showed up in terms of the figures, because the NPP managed to make ground in terms of closing the gap between themselves and the NDC. Jontia again, that time managed 45.3%. The NDC, the NPP candidate then, Hajia Abagna Kalda, managed 35%. So a difference of then 10%. In 1996, it was 47.1%. So something had changed in 2000. That trend then continues. You see the NPP still closing the gap, except for in 2004, you notice a slight dip. Again, they lost again to Jontia again, but this time, instead of the margin of defeat of 10% in 2000, they had 13% margin of defeat. Again, it means they lost some 3% votes in 2004. Now, the thing about 2004 is that the reason why the NPP, both the NPP and the NDC, though, by the way, lost votes compared to the previous elections. Jontia, for example, in this case, had 36.3% compared to the 4 years before in 2000, where he had 45%. The reason was the independent candidate. Guess who the independent candidate was in 2004? Mr. Mansouri. The candidate who then becomes the MPP's parliamentary candidate for Talensi in the 2012 election showed up in 2004 as an independent candidate. And guess how he did? He did fantastically well in the scheme of things. He got 19.9% of the votes compared to the MPP's 23.3% and Jontia's NDC's 36.3%. In terms of real votes, he had 4,582 compared to the MPP's 5,000. So it shows you, when he showed up in 2004 as an independent candidate, that this guy had clout, can still get people on his side as an independent. I don't know why in 2008 the MPP didn't see the trick and say, let's get him on our side. But they still found a way to still bring Hajia Abagna, who had lost to Jontia in 2004. In 2008, again, the MPP had 34.64% of the votes, as against Jontia again, 44.29%. Back to around 10% margin of defeat there. That was in 2008. Then suddenly they realized that, listen, we need to win the seat. And so they go in for the candidate for them, who was Mr. Mansouri, who had become the paramount chief, for which reason we are talking about a by-election today. He comes in and wins the seat. He wins the seat by 41.46% against Jontia, who had won since 1996 on the trot, consecutively winning all the while. Mr. Mansouri comes in and wins as against Jontia's 33.22% in that election.
Why do you think Mansouri won that election against Jontia, who had been in the seat for a very long time?
The trick for him was two things. And again, I need to repeat, in politics, there are no absolutes. But you look at the dominant factors. The dominant factor for Mr. Mansouri, who is now a paramount chief of one of the towns in Talensi, is his association, close links to the traditional authorities. He had that. In fact, this is not the first time he's tried to be a paramount chief. He tried it before. In fact, he contested that paramountcy and did not get it. And so he's had that close relationship with the paramountcies, the traditional authorities there. And that played a huge role in his victory. In fact, he played a huge role in the performance he put up in 2004 as an independent candidate. He still was that guy who's known by everybody else. And the people in Talensi and the northern region generally take their traditional rulers very, very seriously. The thing about it also, in addition, the second factor is Jontia himself also alienated himself with the traditional authorities and the people generally in Talensi. By some remarks he's made, and I've heard people say, for example, that he should simply go there and apologize now, and that could help the NDC win the election.
Now, do you think that this affection for Jontia in 2012 could play in favor of the NPP in this by-election?
The point is, have they forgotten the things he said about them, for which reason they were unhappy with him, that they voted him out? The point is, as he's taking steps to remedy that situation. I don't think he has, because he lost the election, moved on. He's not an ambassador for a country. He's left the country. He's moved on. I don't know if he's returned to the Talensi constituency, whether he's gone there to do... Because you see, we're talking about traditional authorities, and there are specific prescribed ways of appeasing them and pacifying them. Beyond saying, I'm sorry, you actually need to go there and possibly perform some rites. Okay? So the question is whether he's done that. I don't know. But if he's not done that, it will still play a role. And listen to what Nanado has been saying on the platforms. Playing into that and saying, for example, when they held the rally on Sunday, that listen, we have given you a paramount chief, for which reason we need to have a by-election. You need to reward us because out of our ranks came your paramount chief. And so, reward us. He goes to meet the chiefs and says, I know you don't play active politics, but I know you vote. So vote for my candidate. He is playing on that, sadly. And so that is going to play a role in whether the NDC
there's a lot to talk about, but would have to go now. Would look at this conversation further in subsequent broadcasts, especially if really Talensi could have a bearing on 2016. I mean, what are the odds that Talensi could have a bearing?
I don't think it will have any bearing on 2016. It will just excite people, give somebody momentum, but
to do more.
A whole year is a long time in politics, and everything could change.
I agree. There's more to come, just say.